और आपका आज वीडियो
स्वागत है।
आज जो वीडियो हम लिख रहे हैं इसका टाइटल है
महाभारत द एंशिएंट इंडियन एपिक।
तो चलिए देखते हैं वीडियो लिखने से पहले
इस वीडियो चैनल का ओरिजिनल लिंक आपको हमारी वीडियो के डिस्क्रिप्शन मिल जाएगा। सब्सक्राइब करिए, लाइक करिए, शेयर करो, फॉलो करिए चैनल को। उसके अलावा व्लॉग चैनल के इंस्टाग्राम लिंक भी हमारी वीडियो के डिस्क्रिप्शन मिल जाएगा। सब्सक्राइब करिए, लाइक करिए, शेयर करो, फॉलो करें।
चलिए देख लेते हैं ये वीडियो।
Did you know that a dog once decided the fate of a hero in the ancient Indian epic the Mahabharata? Stick around and you'll hear all about it. Hello and welcome to World History Encyclopedia. My name is Kelly and today's video is all about the ancient Indian epic, the Mahabharata. Don't forget the easiest way to support us is by giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing to our channel and hitting that bell icon for notifications so you don't miss out on our new uploads. World History Encyclopedia is a non-profit organisation, so if you'd like to support our work, you can head to our Patreon via the link in the top corner of the screen or via the Patreon link down below. The Mahabharata is the longest epic poem in the world and is believed to have been composed as early as the 4th century BCE or even earlier by the sage Vyasa, who was also a character in the story. As a whole, the Mahabharata is about 10 times the length of Homer's Iliad and Odyssey put together, and the Bhagavad Gita, which is only one section of the whole epic, is considered one of the most important Hindu scriptures. The story is still popular in India today, and children are still named after the characters from the epic. The poem is all about issues of succession and the lead up to the Kurukshetra war, and then the war itself, and the aftermath. Much like the Trojan War from the Iliad, the Kurukshetra war may have actually been a historical event, but through time it has been embellished to the current form, which is now considered a legendary narrative. Let's get on to the story. The epic begins with the king Shantanu, who is the king of Hastinapur in the region of Kuru. He marries a woman named Ganga, who is actually a goddess, but Shantanu doesn't know that at the time, and they have a son called Devavrant. Later down the road, Shantanu falls in love with a woman named Satyavati. However, he would only be allowed by Satyavati's father to marry her if he was to be succeeded not by his son from his first marriage, but by a son that he had with Satyavati. Thinking that this wouldn't be fair to Devavrant, Shantanu declines the offer. But when Devavrant hears about it, he rides to Satyavati's house and says that he will renounce the throne and remain celibate so that they could be rest assured he would have no children. From then on, he was known as Bhishma. Shantanu and Satyavati have 2 sons, and when Shantanu dies while his sons are still children, Satyavati and Bhishma deal with the kingdom's affairs. Once the boys are adults, the elder son has died, and so the younger son, Virya, becomes the king. He ends up dying childless and leaving the 2 princesses he had married. Satyavati has another son, Vyasa, from her previous marriage, and so to keep the family line from dying out, Vyasa could be used as a surrogate father as part of the Niyog custom, and so he sleeps with the widows of Vichitravirya. Vyasa and the elder queen Ambuka have a son named Dhritarashtra, who was born blind, and with the younger queen Ambalika, they have a son named Pandu, who was healthy but very pale. They also have a half-brother named Vindur. At this point, the royal family has split into 2, the Kauravas under Dhritarashtra and the Pandavas under Pandu. It is between these cousins and their children that war will be waged. Once the 3 boys are all adults, one of them has to become king. Because Dhritarashtra is blind, he's bypassed, even though he's the oldest, and Pandu is made king. Dhritarashtra marries a woman named Gangari, who always keeps her eyes covered so she could experience the world like her husband. And Pandu is married to both Kunti and Madri. In a turn of events, Pandu is cursed to die if he ever has sex, because when he was off hunting, he killed 2 deer that were mating, and these deer weren't deer at all, but the wise man, Rishi, and his wife. For this, Pandu and his wives are exiled to the forest. This becomes a common event in the epic, and Dhritarashtra becomes the king. While in exile, Kunti prays to the gods for help, and she ends up having 3 sons, and Madhuri has twins, all without killing Pandu with the curse. The sons are born through the custom of Niyog. Yudhishthira by Yama, the god of justice, Bhima by Yavu, the god of the wind, Arjuna by Indra, the god of thunder, and the twins Nakula and Sahadeva, which were Maduri sons, by Ashvins, the gods of medicine. During this time, Dhritarashtra and Gangari had 100 sons, with the eldest being Duryodhana. At this point, it might be prudent to mention that although the Pandavas are considered the good guys and the Kauravas the bad guys, the characters in the epic are all far more morally ambiguous. But overall, Arjuna of the Pandavas is thought to be the protagonist of the epic and Duryodhana the antagonist. Okay, back to the story. Now that there are 105 potential heirs to the throne of Hastinapur, both tension and hostilities between the cousins grow over who would be named the heir, Duryodhana or Yudhishthira. All of the boys are entrusted into the care of a teacher, first Kripa and then Drona. Other boys are also attracted to the school, one in particular by the name of Karna, from the Sutta clan, becomes a close friend of Duryodhana. To keep the peace, Dhritarashtra names Yudhishthira as the heir.
Okay.
Unsurprisingly, Duryodhana is not happy that Yudhishthira is named as the heir, since he thought he should be the next king, since he is the son of the de facto king. And so, naturally, he plots to get rid of the Pandavas once and for all. How does he do this? Well, he gets his dad to send Kunti and the Pandavas away, tricking them into thinking that they're setting off for a fair. The palace they are to be staying in is entirely flammable, and so Duryodhana plans on burning it down with the Pandavas in it. Luckily, the Pandavas are alerted to this plan by their other uncle, Vindu. Remember him? Who has already dug an escape tunnel under their chambers.
मेरे mind में चल
One
रही है
night,
सारी.
the
मेरे ध्यान
Pandavas
में भी.
give a huge feast and feed a forest woman and her 5 sons, so much that they can't walk and fall asleep in the palace. Then the Pandavas set fire to the castle themselves and escaped. When Duryodhana sees the bodies, he thinks he has succeeded in ridding the world of the Pandavas.
Okay. अब
The
आएगा.
Pandavas and Kunti then go into hiding, moving around every few weeks for a different village to stay in. During this time, the second oldest and the largest of the lot, Bhima, kills 2 demons, marries a demoness, and has a demon child. Whilst living in hiding as a poor family, they hear of a Swayamvar, which is a ceremony used to choose a suitor, and this one was for the princess of Panchal, Draupadi. The 5 brothers set off for the food or money which was given to poor people at these events, and then they stayed to watch the fun. The conditions to win the princess are difficult. There's a long pole in the ground which has a circular contraption spinning at the top of it with a fish attached to it. At the bottom of the pole, there's a shallow urn with water in it. A person has 5 arrows to use to pierce the spinning fish using the mirrored water to see. Only an extremely skilled archer could pass this test, such as the presumed dead Arjuna. Some can't string the bow or even pick it up, and when Karna steps up, he isn't even allowed to compete because Draupadi, the princess, doesn't want to marry someone from the Sutta clan. Arjuna gives it a go and pierces the fish's eye with each of the 5 arrows which he shot all at once, and wins Draupadi's hand. The boys, all dressed as poor men, take her to the hut they are living in, but Draupadi's brother wasn't happy that the princess was to be a commoner's wife, so he follows them, as does Krishna and Balaram, who are of the Yadava clan, and figured the man who won the challenge must have been Arjuna. The 2 men are related to the Pandavas since their father was Kunti's brother, but they had never met before. Vyasa is also there too, and so the hut is full of happy cries. Just a quick note here, Krishna, the cousin of the Pandavas, is an avatar of Vishnu, one of the most important gods in the Hindu pantheon. To be an avatar of a god basically means that Krishna is an incarnation of the god on earth. Okay, back to the story. So Draupadi becomes the common wife of all 5 brothers, because when the 5 of them enter the hut, they yell, "Ma, Ma, come and see what we've brought back today." And their mother yells,
Bantlo.
"Whatever it is, share it
Bantlo.
amongst yourselves." And so they do. They are all married
देखती नहीं
and then
है ना?
invited back to
रस्सी कह देती
Hastinapur,
हैं।
where Dhritarashtra pretends to be happy to see them.
वो समझते
He
भिक्षा
gives the
लेकर आए
Pandavas
हैं.
some land to rule over, which they transform into a paradise with Yudhishthira on the throne, and they call it Indraprastha. You may be thinking, how could one woman be married to 5 men? Well, they made a deal to make it work. Each brother would get to be married to her for 1 year at a time, and they would take it in turns. But if she is in a room with her husband of that year and one of the other brothers entered it, they would be exiled for 12 years. This happens to Arjuna, who during his exile marries 3 princesses.
Shakuni mama.
So obviously in true Duryodhana fashion, remember Duryodhana is the son of Dhritarashtra, the king of Hastinapur. He is not happy that the Pandavas have such power and prosperity, so he invites Yudhishthira for a game of dice and has his uncle Shakuni play in his place. Shakuni just keeps winning until Yudhishthira has nothing left to gamble. He has gambled his kingdom, his riches, and even Draupadi. The Kauravas insult Draupadi and even try to remove her clothes. At this point, Bhima, one of the 5 brothers, gets angry and vows to kill every one of them. Dhritarashtra unwillingly intervenes and gives the Pandavas back their kingdom and their wife. Once again, Duryodhana is not happy, and so he invites Yudhishthira to another game of dice, where the loser would have to go into exile for 12 years and then live 1 year incognito. If they're discovered during their incognito year, they have to do the whole 12 years exile, 1 year incognito again. Yudhishthira agrees, they play, and once again Yudhishthira loses. Off they go into exile again. This time they left their aging mother behind to stay with Vindur. For 12 years, they live and hunt in the forest. Yudhishthira asks Arjuna to head up to the heavens and get some celestial weapons, since it was clear that they would have to fight for their kingdom after the exile. Arjuna returns with weapons and techniques learnt from the gods, and the skills of singing and dancing. In their year of incognito, they live in the Virat kingdom, and they all get jobs at the palace. They aren't discovered during this year, and when they reveal themselves, the Virat king is overwhelmed and offers his daughter in marriage to Arjuna. Since he had just spent that last year teaching the king's daughter how to dance, he also sees her more like a daughter, and instead has her marry his son, Abhimanyu. At the wedding, Pandava allies come up with war tactics, and emissaries are sent to Hastinapur to demand Indraprastha back. Even Krishna is sent to foster peace, but they all fail. Duryodhana refuses to give away any of his land, and so war becomes inevitable.
Final.
Just before the war begins, Arjuna looks around and sees all these people, teachers, his great-grandfather, and cousins and brothers, and his resolution begins to waver. He doesn't want to kill any of these people, and what kind of kingdom would it be, beginning with so much death? He says all this to Krishna, who is Arjuna's charioteer. Following this comment is the philosophical discourse known as the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna tells Arjuna about how fleeting life is and about the importance of following through on one's duty and sticking to the right path. And so Arjuna picks up his bow and arrows and war commences. The battle goes on for 18 days. The Pandavas have 7 Akshauhinis and the Kauravas have 11. One Akshauhini is a military unit made up of 21,870 chariots, 21,870 elephants, 65,610 horses, and 109,350 foot soldiers. There are many deaths on each side, but ultimately the Pandavas win. Duryodhana and all of the Kauravas die, as do all of the menfolk from Draupadi's family, and all of her sons she had with the Pandava brothers. Karna also dies, and at this point it's revealed that he was Kunti's son from her first marriage before Pandu. In only 18 days, almost 3 whole generations of men are lost. After the war, Yudhishthira becomes king of Hastinapur and Indraprastha. He rules for 36 years and then abdicates the throne to his grandson Parikshit, the son of Abhimanyu. The Pandavas and Draupadi head to the Himalayas and plan to live the rest of their lives climbing the slopes towards the heavens. One by one they die and their spirits ascend to heaven until only Yudhishthira and his faithful dog are left. When they reach the gates of heaven, the gatekeeper tells Yudhishthira that he is welcome but his dog is not. Yudhishthira rejects this, telling the gatekeeper if his dog, who has been faithful to him throughout his life, is not welcome, he will not enter heaven. The gatekeeper reveals himself as the god Vishnu and tells Yudhishthira that was only a test of his loyalty and humanity, which he has passed. He is then welcomed into paradise with his dog and is reunited with all he thought he had lost. Can you see any similarities between the Mahabharata and other ancient epics and stories? Let us know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on our new videos every Tuesday and Friday.
भाई ये वीडियो देखते हुए ना मेरे ध्यान में दो तीन चीज़ें चल रही थी। सबसे पहले तो मेरे ध्यान में जो है रामायण से जो है ना महाभारत तक का जो एक सफ़र चल रहा था, क्योंकि अगर रामायण में देखें तो भाई जो है तख्त जो है वो छोड़ने के लिए सारे राज़ी थे। बेशक अगर वो आप राम जी के जितने भी भाई थे, बेशक वो अगर लक्ष्मण जी को देखें या उनके जो सौतेले भाई थे उन्हें देखें, वो तख्त छोड़ने के लिए जो है ना वो सारे राज़ी थे। लेकिन ऑन दी अदर साइड आप इधर आते हैं ना, जब महाभारत का पीरियड आता है, क्योंकि वो कलयुग का पीरियड जो है स्टार्ट होने वाला होता है, तो वहाँ पे तख्त के लिए जो है आपको जो है वो एक लड़ाई जो है देखने को मिलती है कि भाई जो कौरव जो होते हैं वो अपना तख्त जो है अपनी शाही रियासत जो है वो बचाना चाहते हैं। तो ये एक मुझे जो है ना मेजर जो है वो मैं कहूँगा कि आप कह लें कि डिफरेंस आप कह लें आप नज़र आता है। और दूसरा जो है भाई जितनी भी कहानी जो है अभी वो सुना रही थी, मेरे ज़हन में जो महाभारत जो मैंने देखी है ना, मेरे ज़हन में सारी वो चलती जा रही थी।
अच्छा जी, सबसे पहले तो मैं अपॉलॉजी चाहती हूँ क्योंकि मैंने अभी तक महाभारत जो है वो कंप्लीट
मैंने भी नहीं देखी।
मतलब उसके लास्ट वाले मैंने 50+ देख ली हैं, लेकिन अभी भी बहुत सारे एपिसोड्स उसके पड़े हुए हैं।
मैंने अप्रोक्सीमेटली 70-75 तक मैंने देखे हैं, मुझे कंफर्म याद नहीं है।
70-75 तक देखे हैं। वैसे जब हम महाभारत देखते हैं तो महाभारत जो है वो किंग भरत से स्टार्ट होती है और आगे जिस तरीके से फिर शांतनु किंग का जिक्र होता है उसमें भी वैसे मतलब मुझे बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग लगता है देखने में। स्टार्टिंग में जब आप देखते हो ना तो आपको इतना समझ नहीं आ रहा होता, बट धीरे धीरे जैसे आप आगे चलते रहते हो महाभारत को देखते हो ना तो आपकी समझ में चीज़ें आती हैं किस तरीके से लिंक्ड है। लेकिन फिर भी मैं बोलूँगी कि उसके लिए आपको सनातन धर्म का थोड़ा बहुत नॉलेज होना चाहिए टू अंडरस्टैंड द कॉन्सेप्ट, अदरवाइज आपको समझ नहीं आती। जैसे जो किंग शांतनु है उनको बिल्कुल याद नहीं था जो गंगा जी के साथ लाइक उनका आई थिंक पिछले जन्म में जिस तरीके से वो एक इंसिडेंट हुआ था, फिर उसके बाद उनको धरती पर भेज दिया गया था। तो वो चीज़ें जो हैं मतलब आपको अंडरस्टैंड करने के लिए मुझे लगता है कि थोड़ा सा एक नॉलेज, एक कॉन्सेप्ट, एक क्लैरिटी होनी चाहिए, फिर आपको चीज़ें समझ
बिल्कुल। अच्छा, मैं ये 100% एग्री करता हूँ कि भाई जब आप महाभारत, क्योंकि हम अगर अपनी बात कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि इंडिया में जो लोग रहते हैं वो तो शुरू से जो है इस चीज़ को फॉलो करते हैं। दुनिया जहाँ पे भी आपको हिंदू जो है वो देखने को मिलते हैं वो जो है शुरू से महाभारत के बारे में जानते हैं। लेकिन अगर हम अपनी बात करें तो वो क्योंकि जैसे महाभारत स्टार्ट होती है BR चोपड़ा जी वाली, क्योंकि मज़ा ही वही आता है देखने का। तो जिस तरह चीज़ें जो है ना वो लिंक की गई है ना स्टार्टिंग में, वाकई आपको नहीं समझ लगती कि भाई एक रिलेशन कहाँ से स्टार्ट हो रहा है, कहाँ पे एंड हो रहा है, फिर कहाँ से स्टार्ट हो रहा है। लेकिन जैसे जैसे वो चीज़ें आगे जाती जाती है ना तो फिर आपको जो है ना वो समझ जो है वो लगती जाती है और इन द एंड जो है ना वो आप पूरा कॉन्टेक्स्ट जो है उसका वो समझ जाते हैं।
बिल्कुल। अच्छा, और एक बीच में जो जिस तरह से भी सारी बताए गए वाकयात महाभारत के बारे में सम अप करके, तो जो कुंती जी हैं और कर्ण उनका बेटा है, तो जहाँ तक हम लोग अंडरस्टैंड किए हैं और पढ़े हैं वो ये है कि जैसे उन्होंने बोला ना कि उनकी पहली शादी तो हुई नहीं थी,
बिल्कुल,
वो तो उनको वरदान मिला था जो उन्होंने तपस्या की थी। ठीक है, तो मतलब ये अगेन मैं यही बात कर रही हूँ कि जो बाहर वाला बंदा होता है ना उसको थोड़ा समझने में, अंडरस्टैंड करने में टाइम लगता है चीजें में, क्योंकि जो वरदान वाली चीजें हैं ना ये हमने भी कहीं ना कहीं पर सुनी हुई है, लेकिन हम लोगों को तब भी नहीं समझ आती थी। पर जब हम लोगों ने महाभारत देखी है ना उसके बाद हमें समझ आई कि ये वरदान कैसे मिलता है।
बिल्कुल, क्योंकि हमने जो पढ़ी है उसमें है तो वरदान ही, लेकिन जो है ना उसे एक अलग तरीके से जो है वो बता दिया जो है वो जाता है। तो जो है जैसे जैसे आप चीज़ें देखते हैं ना तो आपको जो है ना वो चीज़ें समझ जो है वो लगती हैं कि भाई आखिरकार ये चीज़ें जो है वो कैसे जो है वो हुई थी।
बिल्कुल। और फिर उसके बाद अगर हम लोग जैसे पांडव, कौरव सबकी बात करें, दुर्योधन की बात करें, युधिष्ठिर की बात करें, तो महाभारत में अगर एंड तक जाते जाते आपको एक चीज़ तो समझ में आती है कि कुछ भी इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं सिवाय इसके कि आप धर्म पर हो। और अगर हम लोग युधिष्ठिर की बात करें तो जिस तरीके से मतलब वो अकेले व्यक्ति थे जो कि वॉक करते हुए हेवन तक एंटर हुए। और देखो लास्ट में भी जो स्टोरी सुनी वो मैंने आज पहली दफा सुनी है, मतलब वहां पर भी उनका एक टेस्ट हुआ है।
हाँ, वहां तक भी मैं पहुंचा नहीं
अभी जो लास्ट में
नहीं, मैं कहा कि महाभारत में वो है ना, तो मैंने भी वहां तक नहीं देखी।
पर नहीं पहुंची। वैसे तुम कहाँ तक पहुंचे मुझे ये बता
यार मैं अभी जो वॉर वाले सीन है ना, वो खत्म करने की कोशिश कर रहा था लेकिन हुए नहीं अभी
वॉर वाले सीन, मतलब जहाँ पर भगवत गीता
बिल्कुल
ओके। लेकिन मैं ये बात बोलूंगी कि इंसान के जो धर्म है, मतलब वो बार बार टेस्ट किया जाता है कि ये बंदा इन टेस्ट पर पूरा उतरता है या नहीं उतरता। और मुझे लगता है यही हमें एक सीख जो है वो मिलती है। लेकिन महाभारत देखकर आपको बहुत सारी चीज़ें समझ आती हैं। सीरियसली आप बहुत डिफरेंट कैरेक्टर को इस दुनिया में ही समझ पाते हो कि भाई इनकी नीयतें क्या होने वाली हैं, और वो वाकई में होते हैं वैसे।
सही बात है।
ऐसा नहीं है कि भाई हम कुछ एग्जैजरेट करके बता रहे हैं, बट एक्चुअली में जो कैरेक्टर आप महाभारत में देखते हो वो आपको आज की दुनिया में नजर आता है।
भाई कई लोग तो ऐसे होते हैं, उनमें जो है ना आपको वो शकुनी मामा और जो गंधारी जी वाली जो है ना, वो सारी आपको जो है ना एक चीज़ें जो है वो नजर आती है। गंधारी जी जो बेशक वो उन्होंने आंखें पट्टी बांधी होती है, लेकिन उन्हें सारा कुछ पता होता है, लेकिन उसके बावजूद वो खामोश रहती हैं। और शकुनी मामा तो वो वैसी
बहुत सारे शकुनी मामा हैं, लेकिन भीष्म पितामह भी बहुत सारे हैं आजकल के टाइम में, जो मतलब एक फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी शो कर देते हैं ना कि भाई हम कुछ नहीं बोल सकते। इस तरह के भी बहुत सारे लोग हैं, हालांकि वो बहुत अच्छे थे। अभी भी लोग मतलब ऐसे लोगों को कहते हैं कि वो बहुत अच्छे हैं, लेकिन उनमें हिम्मत नहीं है कि वो सही को सही कह सकें और गलत को गलत कह सकें। लेकिन जो नीयत है वो बहुत ज्यादा मैटर करती है। जैसे कि लेकिन दुर्योधन के जो पिताजी थे धृतराष्ट्र, अगर उनकी बात करें तो वो खुद बोलते थे ना कि ये मेरी आकांक्षाओं का मतलब एक फल है। तो मतलब इंसान के अंदर बहुत सारी ऐसी चीज़ें होती हैं, जब सामने से तो वो प्रिटेंड कर रहा होता है कि मैं ऐसा नहीं हूँ, लेकिन उसके दिल में बहुत सारी चीज़ें चल रही होती हैं। और वो कैरेक्टर भी आपको आजकल की दुनिया में जो है वो नजर आते हैं। बाकी ओवरऑल मैं कहूँगी कि सीखने पर जब आए तो मुझे लगता है कि बहुत ज़्यादा आप वो चीज़ें सीख सकते हो, और इसमें आपको गाइडलाइन भी चाहिए होती है। मैं ये भी, क्योंकि बहुत सारे ऐसे भी चीज़ें होती हैं जहाँ पर आपको समझ नहीं आती, तो वहाँ पर कोई आपको गाइड करे तो आपको पता चलता है कि किस तरीके से हाँ ये चीज़ें जो है वो होंगी। बाकी आप जरूर बताइए कमेंट सेक्शन में आपको आज की वीडियो कैसी लगी, और इसी साथ हमें
गुड बाय।